A beautiful morning at the White House. Just saw some images of the inside of the Oval Office. It's been redone. New wallpaper, a new carpet from the Reagan era. And with any luck, we'll have some pictures. We'll be able to get some shots inside and show the folks what it looks like at 1600 Pennsylvania.
I wonder, the new molding as well?
Same molding.
It's the same molding?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because it's historic.
Right.
You know what?
That's what I always thought, too, with the president. The president was never on vacation. The president kept working. He had to get out because the West Wing was being rebuilt.
Look at these gorgeous pictures.
Isn't that pretty? I believe that is the Roosevelt room where he meets with his advisors and whatnot. And that is the new and improved Oval Office. Before there had been striped wallpaper. Now, I would call it a brocade, some sort of a pattern right there. Some more flags, and that rug is from the Ronald Reagan administration.
So this is basically a fixer-upper.
Right.
And I think it looks as good as new.
You know, I'm sure in a couple of weeks there's going to be an HGTV special on how they flipped the White House in, what, 21 days?
Well,
Right.
and in a few months, we'll be talking to the Historical Society because they'll be selling those Christmas ornaments, and all that money goes to help with renovations at the White House, furniture, and that kind of thing.
The investigative reporter Michele Malkin would probably know about that ahead of time if we put her on the story. She is writes for Conservative Review, a senior editor, and a host, of course, of Michele Malkin Investigates on CRTV. Michele, welcome back.
Good morning.
Well, thank you. Good morning. You know, another addition to the new White House renovations is many new eagles, which I don't know if you've heard this, guys, is the latest trigger for the social justice warriors. So
How?
Wonderful, beautiful, patriotic eagles.
How is the symbol of America, the American eagle, the bald eagle, a trigger?
What's not a trigger these days?
Good point.
Wow.
All right.
So let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill. We know Senator Mitch McConnell and company failed by one vote to pass some type of repeal and replace.
That was a trigger.
Right. And then since that time, Mitch McConnell spoke out at a Rotary Club meeting over in Kentucky and called out the president for being naive and wanting to do things on too quick a timeline. The president went right back at the senator. Does all that matter? And what do you project happens in the fall because of the tension in the summer?
Well, I think we need a little bit of modern historical perspective here. It is not news that there is a rift between the GOP establishment and the GOP grassroots. What's different, of course, is now that we have a commander-in-chief in the White House who is a Republican who has been willing to stand up to that GOP establishment. And the frustration of so many limited government conservatives over the years has been that the GOP establishment is more loyal to itself, its self-preservation, and its re-election cycles than it has been to achieving a limited government agenda.
Right.
And Trump called these people out by name, and that is incredibly refreshing to those of us who've followed and been on the side of the grassroots. They were elected to get a job done. And in many cases, of course, for people who are on the small government side, it's about getting things undone that the previous administration did. So what's going to happen? I don't know.
Michele,
but I think that yep.
I'm sorry. I'm curious
Go
to
ahead.
find out what you think about the simple majority and the filibuster, because the president tweeted a direct message to Mitch McConnell basically saying, I am for the simple majority. This was the exact tweet, in fact. If Republican Senate doesn't get rid of the filibuster rule and go to a simple majority, which the Dems would do, they are just wasting time. Obviously, he wants simple majority because then he could get all of his things passed easier, because it'd only take 51 votes or 50 votes, and then the vice president would make the tiebreaker. What do you think? What are you in favor of?
Yeah, so I certainly sympathize with him, and I understand his frustration. And I think there's an ultimate solution here, which is at the ballot box. And it's not just obstructionist Democrats that stand in the way of the Trump agenda. It's obstructionist Republicans, as it has always been. Again, I think historical perspective is necessary here. This rift, this fissure, which of course the anti-Trump media is making so much noise about, oh, it's as if it's unprecedented. Well, this has existed since Phyllis Schlafly wrote A Choice Not an Echo decades and decades ago, talking about the difference between the donor class and the working and entrepreneur class of America and, of course, of the Republican Party.
Sure. And speaking of the ballot box, Mitch McConnell's got a problem. The Triple P put out a new poll yesterday, a national poll. His favorability rating is at 9. Vladimir Putin's actually is at 11. And then in the Triple P did just Kentucky, and he is at 18%. But Michelle, to try to calm people down, both the majority leader and the White House came out and said, we're going to work on our shared agenda. The White House has got the wall on their agenda. The Senate Majority Leader did not mention the wall. The president has made it clear, unless there's funding for the wall, maybe the government shuts down. And according to reports, the president, is deadly serious about that.
Yes, well, I'm glad he is. It is his #1 agenda item. It is one of the reasons he attracted so much support among the rank and file of the Republican Party and so many independents in this country who understand that the donor class is as much responsible for obstruction of the wall as open borders progressives on the left. It's the U.S. Chamber of Commerce types who have never supported it. And I think that this president needs to continue to call out both parties. He needs to continue to call out all of those Democrats, whether it was our former president, Obama, when he was senator, his former opponent, Hillary Clinton, and people like Chuck Schumer, who all voted for the Secure Fence Act in 2006. If they merely finished the job that was enumerated in the Secure Fence Act, that would go a long way towards getting us to a secure border. But they can't even do that. Think about it. Out of the nearly 700 miles that was supposed to be funded by the Secure Fence Act, there's less than 40 miles of it that's double layered that actually makes a difference in border enforcement.
Overall, do you think the president has hit his marks, disappointed you, or exceeded his expectations? Michelle, what did you think going in? What do you think now?
Well, given how under siege and unprecedented the attacks are against this president from all sides, I am very pleased that he continues to stand firm on some of his core principles. And that includes, of course, you've got Mitch McConnell there pandering to the social justice mob. I talked about Mitt Romney recently as well, who think that their job is to do everything to humor and to genuflect to these people who hate every last item on their agenda and who they will never, ever appease.
Michelle, we want to ask you about Hillary Clinton's book that comes out soon. She released that excerpt yesterday, which you probably have heard, where she slowly records what she was saying in the book. Let's listen to this.
This is not okay, I thought. It was the second presidential debate, and Donald Trump was looming behind me. It was incredibly uncomfortable. He was literally breathing down my neck. My skin crawled. Do you stay calm, keep smiling, and carry on as if he weren't repeatedly invading your space? Or do you turn, look him in the eye, and say loudly and clearly, "Back up, you creep. Get away from me"?
Well, that's a side we haven't seen before.
Well, it is that stunning lack of energy and any sense of authenticity that placed Hillary Clinton exactly where she is.
The book would
today.
normally take you an hour to listen to, but it takes 2 hours because she reads so slowly.
You know so much about immigration. You wrote the book Invasion. And now Justin Trudeau, who always looks down at America because we don't have an open mind and we're not liberal in our thought, he comes out and he's starting to get some blowback because he's accepting all these illegal immigrants into his country. Now he's starting to push back, saying we can't afford to give you benefits. Let's rethink this. How do you feel about the liberal leader that's looked up to by the Rolling Stone?
Well, yes, and of course deified by so much of the left here. They wish he was their president, and yet they won't cross the border themselves and move there. And now they're under siege. Reap sow, my young man, Justin Trudeau. And it is a repeat of what we're seeing in Germany with Merkel. All of a sudden, he's changing his tune when he had opened the doors to his country to upwards of 25,000 new Syrian refugees, and they want this influx by 2019. And now their welfare services are taxed, their schools are taxed, and they're finally considering the idea of, oh, I don't know, beefing up their northern border. Heck of a job, Justin.
Yeah, no kidding. And a number of the people who apparently are undocumented in this country are worried about President Trump, so they're going north to Canada. Boy, Canada. All right, Michelle, thank you very much for joining us out in the Rocky Mountains,
You bet.
Colorado Springs. One
Thank
of the
you,
most
Michelle.
beautiful cities in the whole wide world.